Bump and Run with Bernie and Dahlby. Presented by Burrito Express, your local burrito joint. Now, here's Brett Bernheisel and Steve Dahlby.
Well, here we are. Unbelievable again. These followers of ours and people that watch our show are incredible. And I got this, and I don't know how this, well, I do know he's a friend of the show, but I got this this today on my windshield. Bernie and Steve. I don't know why I didn't say Dahlby, but whatever. So anyway, it's another card again, and well, this one's a beauty. It's happy 16th with the 6 scratched out. Now it's a 7. Let's see what it says inside. Happy 16th scratched out 17th birthday. Totally guacs. Chris Severson, number one biggest fan of the show. So Chris Severson has reached out to you and I, Dahlby, for show 17, and here we are. And before we get into this fine program, you ever shot 74 in a golf tournament and like ripped your shirt off? Yeah, well, I didn't shoot 74 today. I didn't shoot 74, but I had a rough day and ripped my Nike shirt off, kind of like Rory Mcllroy did today. Your thoughts about what Rory did, ripping his shirt off? I mean, he was pissed.
He was pissed, and I think sometimes he's had kind of an up and down year, I would say. There's been some good golf. There's probably been more non-Rory Mcllroy golf, the golf that we expect out of Rory Mcllroy this year, or this season, I guess. It's interesting because we're actually in a new season, right? But yet,
right,
today's the last day of the calendar year on the PGA Tour. At least they're still going to play a little bit in Europe. But I think for Rory, he's probably not played the golf that he thought he was going to play at the beginning of the year. He certainly, I thought he'd have a better year this year. And it's probably one of those things where it's just kind of boiling a little bit. And today his boiling point hit and he got a little upset. And you know, you tend to not see tour pros get too emotional, but he got a little emotional today. But, you know, and I mean, he blew the tournament. I mean, it was his to win and he lost.
But to rip your shirt, I mean, I ripped my shirt just because I ripped my shirt. That's me. I didn't like the shirt anyway. And maybe Rory didn't like his shirt. But to do that in anger and frustration, I mean, we've all broken clubs. I mean, I've broken so many dang clubs in my day. It's unbelievable over stupid stuff. But for him to, in front of the public eye, rip his shirt off, you know, rip his shirt and you know, I get he was mad that he lost a golf tournament, but you got to give credit to Colin Morikawa, first of all, because, you know, he's the first American ever to win the race to Dubai, which is pretty cool. You want to talk about putting an exclamation point on a great year? That was a great year. But going back to Rory, and this is going to lead me to another question I'm going to ask you in just a couple of minutes here. He's gone back to his old coach, back and forth, all that. Do you like the frustration part out of Rory, being pissed or mad or whatever? Or would you tell your players not to maybe do something like that?
Well, there was a time when there was a time where I think I had 3 or 4 guys on the PGA Tour at once. This is years ago. And I was at New Orleans with a couple of them, and it was a rookie. He behaved poorly to a volunteer, very poorly to a volunteer. And he was a rookie. New Orleans is kind of early in the year, and I was trying to kind of explain to him what my thoughts of that, and basically what I said was, you're new at this. You acted like an asshole, and you're not even good enough to act that way at this point. And so that was my commentary. And I think about not too long later, I got the call that we weren't going to work together anymore. But that was okay, because that was one of those things where I did feel like the anger or emotion got away from the player to the point that it wasn't proper and it wasn't fair to that volunteer. So spoke my mind, and I'll stick to that.
Is Rory is the expectation too high on him? I mean, is the world that thinks, and I'm part of the world. I don't know how he hasn't won more than he's won, and he's had. I mean, let's be honest. You stop tomorrow or today, and his last round was in his career was today. You can say Rory McIlroy is one of the greatest players ever to play on the PGA Tour, the European Tour, or whatever tour he wants to play on. But do you think it's getting in his head too much that the expectations for him are too high?
I was listening to I can't remember who it was. It was one of the coaches, and they were talking about players that sort of peak, right, and then fall off,
Yeah.
and then the challenge to get back, right? The challenge to get back, and the thought was that a lot of these guys, you have your peak, you fall off, and it's just too hard to get back. And with Rory McIlroy, how old is Rory?
I don't have anything in front of me right now.
Early
30,
30,
31,
right?
32. Yeah.
But how long have we watched Rory McIlroy play golf? It seems like for a long time, even though he's a young man.
Sure.
But I think his best days were in years past. And there's a lot of guys now that have passed him in terms of winning majors and winning the big tournaments. It's not that he doesn't win tournaments anymore, but I think his day as maybe the world's top player is, at least for now, was a few years ago. And as a young person that he is, I imagine that he still feels like, well, what do I need to do to get back there? The place that I was 3, 4, 10 years ago. And today, I think what we saw was the frustration, like I said, boiled over. And I'm sure he doesn't feel good about acting like a jackass, but, we all do. So, everybody acts like jackasses once in a while. Unfortunately for him, he did it in front of lots of cameras.
So you honestly think that he's already hit his prime? Because you see a lot of players in golf, because golf is a sport, and it's a sport, and people that say it's a game, they're wrong. It's a sport. People that watch this sport think that you get better as time goes on. And I'm not saying 50, 55. I'm not saying that. I'm saying mid 30s, upper 30s, you see guys peaking, whether it's, Dustin Johnson, whoever that's peaking now. Do you think that the best is behind him, really?
So I'm just looking it up here as we talk. He's 32 years old. He's a former number one in the official world golf rankings. He spent over 100 weeks there. So he spent 2 years there. He's a 4-time major winner: 2011 U.S. Open, 2012 PGA Championship, 2014 Open Championship, 2014 PGA Championship. He's one of 3 players to win 4 majors by the age of 25, and that's Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods. But 2014, that's 7 years ago. I'm not saying he can't get it back. I'm just saying that since 2014, there's a lot of players that have won a lot of majors. And I think, Bernie, what you're saying about, and this is kind of the old adage that you're a golfer's development. You start as a junior golfer, you're a high school golfer, you go to college, and you get a little bit better. Then you turn pro, the guys that do turn pro. And you have this process by which you've got to have a few years to gain experience, and then your best golf is in your 30s. Kind of the Ben Hogan process, right? Where he had the snap hooks in his 20s. He figures out the snap hooks. He goes on to win majors. You look at junior golfers now compared to junior golfers 30 years ago. You look at high school players. You look at college players. There's no question that college players are more prepared physically and mentally to come out on the PGA Tour and go right at it. So I don't know that you're waiting for your 30s anymore. I think these kids, they come out, and we've seen it. You see it. look at what I just said. So he's 32. 7 years ago, he's 24. He won his first one when he was
25.
21, 22, right? So who beat him today? Young kid, Colin Morikawa, right? Who won the PGA Tour event today? Taylor Gooch, young kid. These kids come out and they're ready to go. And so I think what you're seeing is you see players have more success in their early years, but then Jordan Spieth, congratulations to Jordan Spieth and his wife. They had a baby, I think today or yesterday.
It was last week. It was last week, but they kept it quiet for a while.
So you see Jordan, right? You see him play really good, and he's a young kid. Then he's had a couple years where it hasn't been very good. He's kind of gotten it back, but he's still not the Jordan Spieth of his prime, right? We might see another prime, but it will be interesting to see even with Jordan how this goes, as maybe there's another kid or two. There's the responsibility there that changes his lifestyle a little bit. Jordan, when he was playing just golf, right? Winning majors, all he did was play golf. And if he was in Dallas, he was playing golf, he was playing money games, he was having fun with his buddies. Now things have changed. So we'll see how, in his case, life and golf match. With Rory Mcllroy, I hope he plays the golf that he played when he was younger. I'm just saying it's a hard road to climb, and you see guys fall off. They don't always all come back. There's a lot of guys that have played good golf, they fall off, and it's hard for them to get back.
So a video came out today on Twitter that went absolutely ballistic viral of Tiger hitting wedges whenever he was hitting. And I read an article last week by somebody Sean Foley, who came out and he said that with his time with Tiger Woods, he overcoached him. Is that possible to overcoach? And I'm asking you because, you got a guy that's playing very well right now, and Troy Merritt, who just finished 22nd again this week. And congratulations. I mean, you get top 25s every single week of the PGA Tour that you play. You're going to be very successful. But can you overcoach a guy?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think what Sean was on a podcast with Claude Harmon, Butch's son. And he was asked the question about his time with Tiger, and Sean kind of just came out and he said, I overcoached him. There was a time with Tiger where when he was with Hank Haney, he had won 5 times in one season. Then the season changes. He doesn't play very well. And then there was the switch. Sean said that what he felt like was he thought things were all technical as opposed to maybe being something else, whether it was mental game, maybe it wasn't full swing, maybe it was, maybe there was something going on with his short game. But he went into a very deep sort of technical thing. And that's where, I think I like Sean. I don't always agree with Sean, but I like Sean. But sure. He's a very technical coach in my opinion. And I think as he was coming up, and really when he was with Tiger, he was still kind of coming up. And I guess we're all still trying to learn stuff. I try to learn stuff, but I think he felt like at the time, and he even said this on Harmon's podcast, that he was very kind of cocky about how things had gone well for him. He had some good players. He had some good success. So I think he thought what's that?
He has Tiger. I mean, he's at the top of the world at this time.
I'm talking before Tiger. I'm talking about Sean O'Hare. When I worked with Sean went to Foley and they had a nice run for about a year and a half. They had a really nice run. Justin Rose. You know, there were some other guys. He started with Stephen Ames. But I think he thought he had all the answers and that he was kind of the guy. And Sean likes to talk a lot. He likes to talk a lot. He likes to I think that's part of his thing. He's very well read. So, but I think he was a little overconfident. I think he said that. And so, yeah, you can overcoach. Bernie, this Wednesday in the Pro-Am, I was walking around with Troy, and it was funny. There were 3 guys from Jacksonville. They all worked together, and their 3 caddies in the Pro-Am were buddies that they all worked together. They were
okay.
And so, you know, they asked, "What do you do?" You know, well, I'm coaching Sean. I'm coaching Troy and just watching him today. And then one of the caddies came up sometime towards the end, and he's like, "Now, when you guys get done." And remember, this is an 18-holer Pro-Am too. It's not the 9 and 9 thing. So we've been out there for, you know,
All right.
yeah, we've been out there for a while. And you know, Bernie, on Pro-Am day, about the 14th hole, exactly. So the guy's, you know, and he's excited, and he's like, "Okay, now afterwards, will you guys have a meeting and talk about, you know, what you see and what you're going to do and how you're going to play?" And I looked at him and I said, "You know, Troy's been playing really well. Everything looks good to me. I'm behind here looking at him. The ball looks like it's starting where it's supposed to go. I'm trying not to fuck anything up. Just let him go."
Yeah.
And that's where I think we are right now. I'm looking, when I watch Troy play, I'm looking at very small things where right now, can we find, over a course of maybe 4 rounds, can we find 2 shots? You know, or over a round of golf average, can I find a half a shot here or a shot there or something that all of a sudden, instead of being ranked between 85th and 115th in the world, you know, next spring, maybe we're in that top 65 players, which makes a big difference, especially. And Bernie, you know, when you get in the top 50 in the world rankings, it's even better. But that's kind of where I'm at right now, just looking for little things. But as you said, you know, Troy's had a very nice fall. He's played in, I think, 5 tournaments, and he had 2 top 15s and 2 top 25s, you know, of the 5. So, you know, it was a good fall. It was a good start to this season. So, yeah, it's not time to overcoach. That's for damn sure.
I just wish that 4 guys that beat Troy this week wouldn't have birdied the last hole, so Troy could have finished in the top 20 instead of finishing 22nd. If anybody gets my
interest?
Yeah,
you had some interest in the top 20 finish.
I did. Yeah, Vegas set a shitty line at 4-1, and I jumped.
Here's one for you. We were, and I'm not going to tell you the guy's name, but
come on, no, stop! You got to tell the guy's name.
No. I'm not telling the guy's name. It's not happening because I get in trouble. But
I'm not.
There was a guy who Troy played with a couple weeks ago that had a lot of interest in a Saturday on ESPN, and he actually was kind of watching what was going on during his round of golf. So I don't know if you've ever had that happen, but that was happened to Troy not too long ago.
That's funny.
Dude, I'm not telling the guy's name. No way.
Well, I can tell the guy's name because I don't care. You signed that, whatever that thing is, years ago. So we're in. Okay, hold on. I got to remember this whole thing real quick. So we're in. So I'm caddying for Billy Judah, and we're in Richland, Washington, where Billy finished 4th that turn. That's the first tournament I ever caddied for him. And it's Saturday, and we're on the 17th. Yeah, we're on it's 17, par 3 over the water. So we're on 17, and there's a log jam on the, 2 groups. You know how sometimes that happens. And we're playing with Tim Petrovic. I'll say the name. This is my story. Tim Petrovic. Mm-hmm. We're on 17, and We're waiting, and he goes into his bag and grabs his phone. And this is 2001, 2000 or whatever, and grabs his phone and starts. I don't know what side he was on, ESPN or whatever it was back then, and starts looking at scores and starts getting pissed because he had so much action on these games that literally he was really getting pissed. And Billy and I are sitting there going, "Can you pull your phone out?" I'm like, "I don't know. He just did, Billy." Well, maybe you can. I said, I don't know, but yeah, Tim Petrovic actually pulled out his phone on the 17th hole of the third round. It was a Saturday, and was checking scores while we waited for the group in front of us to finish the hole. So yes, I have seen something like that. Speaking of that,
hey Bernie, real quick. So you said you ran fourth. How close were you? How close were you to that flag?
We started the final round.
5?
Yeah, we started the last round in the final group. We were playing with John Rollins, and he's won a couple times on tour. Interesting fellow, by the way. He had the lead, and it was pretty much his tournament to win, and he kind of had a meltdown. But Billy and I go back. I think I've told the story before, and maybe I haven't. But we started one back of Rollins, we're with Rollins the last group. They had a decent crowd. Richmond, Washington was a pretty cool place to be. I won a karaoke contest there too, by the way.
Oh boy.
And yeah, well, we're not going to get into that unless we want to bring Judd Burkett on the show sometime or Chad Campbell. But we played the front nine and shot, I think, 40, 41. And Billy and I had a complete almost argument, fight, breakdown. I said to him, word for word, that can you see your name on the leaderboard on the 9th green? This is the first time I ever caddy for the guy. Your name used to be on the leaderboard. Can you find it anymore? And he got pissed and shot like 31. We finished fourth. Guy Burrows. There's a name for the past. Guy Burrows ended up winning the tournament because Rollins had a meltdown coming home. We finished fourth. We birdied 2 of the last 3 holes, which was close, but it was a pretty cool moment because I knew the guy had heart. So yeah, that wasn't the closest I ever came. I've told you the Kelly Gibson story when we hit the lumberyard in somewhere in South Dakota one time. I'm going to change subjects so real quick. So speaking of the gambling, I know that you are involved in a fantasy football pool. And this week you are playing your boss. Have you ever seen him like on a Sunday during a final round? And it goes back to the Tim Petrovic story. Have you ever seen him like ask somebody like, what's Dalvin Cook done today? What's Jonathan Taylor, who had 5 touchdowns today, by the way, for the Colts? Have you ever seen him ever ask what scores were, fantasy scores during the final round?
No, not fantasy football. Not fantasy football. I have, let me think. I've told him he likes the Iowa Hawkeyes. And so I've told him, hey, the Hawkeyes are up, whatever. And it could have been basketball. It could have been football, probably basketball. And I've said, hey, they're doing good or something like that. That's about all that he's done. But I'm sure there's plenty of guys that enjoy their fantasy football and maybe want to know. Do you know somebody that likes that information? If you were playing, would you want it?
I mean, I'm not a player. I mean, as a kid, back in the day when it was years ago. This shit didn't exist. I mean, maybe it did, but but nobody really cared about it as much as, today, people do this for a living. Fantasy football, fantasy whatever, it's for a living. To me, it's unheard of. How much time that would take to be able to figure out this guy better than this guy and stuff like that. But so this week, when you were at the RSM, and I know you just got back last night, Troy got paired with Scotty Scheffler on Saturday. I don't know who the other guy was. It doesn't matter to this question. But Ted Scott. Jonathan Bird, thank you. Who hit the hole-in-one. Yep. The famous hole-in-one walk-off in Vegas one year. Jonathan Bird, yep. Who actually beat RW one year in Greenville, South Carolina. So that was the closest I ever got to a flag, too. But Ted Scott, who used to caddy for Bubba Watson, now is Scotty Scheffler's caddy. I don't know, and maybe you might know, how this all happened and transpired, because Scheffler's been on a roll lately. Now, he hasn't won, and maybe that's the reason why he, got rid of his caddy before, or the caddy that he's been working with. But did you notice anything different about Scheffler and Ted? Was it weird watching Ted Scott caddy for Scotty Scheffler instead of Bubba Watson?
I noticed that Scotty Scheffler was not happy yesterday. He got off to a decent start. Now, this last week, so the first day on Thursday, the weather was beautiful. There was no wind. In the RSM, you play two different golf courses. You play the Seaside course, which is the one you see on TV, and then you also go just across the road and you play the Plantation course just one day. So you flip flop Thursday, Friday, the cut. You go to the Seaside. So on Thursday, there's no wind. It's perfect, and scores were indicative of that. I think Troy shot 6 under on the Plantation. You feel pretty good about 6 under. And I looked at where he was, and he was in 21st. Normally 6 under after the first day, you're better than 21st. But
yeah, correct.
So be it. There was no wind. It was, the course was playing easy. Then Friday morning, wind switch northeast, and it's blowing 25, 35 steady all day long. Scores go up. I think, Bernie, the first day, like the whole field was like 500 strokes under par. Okay. The second day on Friday, the whole field was like 170 over par. And it was the biggest spread from a Thursday to a Friday, or, two different days of the season. It was just one of those days. And then yesterday, the wind was blowing hard again, right from the start, blowing 25, 30. And Scotty got off to a nice start. Let's see, we're playing the backside. So we're first group off the backside, because they were kind of right in the middle. So they got the first.
It's early.
Tee time.
The first group is really early.
Wasn't yesterday though. Just from tee times and TV and stuff, it was 9:15. So it wasn't bad.
Oh.
But
Bench.
So 10, 11, 12, 13, so 14. So I think he's 1 under par after 4 holes. The 5th hole's a pretty good par 4, and he dead into the wind, hits a great drive, hits it up there like 12 feet. And so Troy missed the green. He hit a chip, got it up and down. So once he tapped in, I kind of started walking to the next hole, because I like to go up and kind of watch the tee shots, and sometimes I'll even,
I know you do.
I've found a ball or whatever. So I leave, and I'm like, okay, Scheffler's got 12 feet to go to 2 under or whatever. And I get out there and I position myself, and I look back, and I see Jonathan Bird hit first. Then I see Troy hit next. So I'm like, well, what the hell? This isn't what's going on here, right? Scheffler had 4-putted. And so that sort of started the meltdown, and he was not a happy person the rest of the day. Very played very fast. On one hole, I even thought it might have been borderline rude. It was the next hole, actually. He made birdie. So he went up to the next tee. Troy was playing. Troy tapped in for par, picked his ball up, took 2 steps, bang. Scheffler hit.
What? Before he got to the tee?
Yeah. He was still kind of walking over. I thought that was a little bit, I'm theoretically, once your ball's picked out, right, you can hit.
Right.
But I mean, we're not playing ready golf.
Right.
But his, he was just not a happy person. And so I was excited to watch Scotty play. Up close, Ryder Cupper, right? See how he goes, and, wasn't his best day.
Is he the next guy? I mean, it's okay. So first of all, you've watched him be rude and hit before, right when Troy putts out. But You said you were
I don't
excited to
like
watch
that.
him.
Would you like you would well if you that you wouldn't like that, would you? If it's your guy picks
Me?
it up and bang, yeah,
Me?
yeah.
You've known me for 5 or 6 years. No, you know me. No, I'm gonna,
Hmm.
and I'll probably say something, but that's just me.
Yeah,
But is
yeah.
he is Scheffler is he the guy? I mean, is he the guy? I mean, is he okay? Here I'll ask the bullshit question that people ask all the time. Is he the best player that hasn't won on the PGA Tour?
Well, I think I'd have to see him play again, obviously. I know it was a bad day, and so I'm going to give him, I'm going to give him that one. I'm going to give him that it was a bad day and it wasn't his best, and so I would like to wait and see. But I mean, the golf that he's played, you would think that, I don't know if he's the best player that hasn't won, but he's a good player, and I think he showed that a good bit this last season. So we'll wait and see, though. I'm gonna just hold my opinion, and I'm not gonna make a judgment after watching him play, once and not having a good day. He's a young kid. I'm gonna, it's okay. If he did it again and again, if I saw him do it a couple more times, then I probably think that, this isn't the right thing. But I know his coach, Randy Smith's his coach down in Dallas. Randy's a good guy. He has great things to say about Scotty, and so I think, who knows what was going on yesterday. It's just people have bad days.
So let's get into what happened this week. So Morikawa won over in Europe and became the first player ever to win the race to Dubai, which is it's kind of weird because I think he only played like 4 tournaments, and him and Billy Horschel were the 2 Americans that had a chance to win. So I'm going to ask you point blank right now, and get ready for this question. Billy Horschel came out this week. Billy Horschel came out this week and said he thinks the number of kept cards on the PGA Tour, which is 125, should go to 100. And he also said that 50 players from the Korn Ferry Tour should be reduced to 25. Where this clown, and I'm going to call him a clown, and you know how I am about this guy. This guy was in a spot 7, 8, 9, 10 years, whatever it was. I don't know the year. He was in a spot where he was 140 something on the money list or FedEx Cup back then, and was struggling to get starts. Just because he now is better than he was back then, trying to take away, and he says fields would be a lot better now if we only had 100 guys or 120 makes, the best players in the world, instead of giving these kids like Taylor Gooch or whoever it might be an opportunity to play. I'm totally against what he said, and to be honest, I mean, and you can tell it pisses me off, Steve.
Well, the interesting thing, that what you just said, I heard on the practice tee at Sea Island. It was a point of conversation with some of the guys the other day. It was guys next door that I was kind of eavesdropping in. And there was definitely some conversation about that. Now, I think Billy, he probably has forgotten and forgotten where he was and the opportunities that he has. And, this is kind of one of those where this would be probably pretty good for him to just keep his job longer and longer. But you're now making this, what is a pretty exclusive job anyway, even more exclusive. And obviously, Bernie, knowing you like this, you like these stories of a Monday qualifier, getting through and
I do.
and doing something. And so I think Billy probably, in my opinion, could stop talking and it would be just fine. He talks a lot, and I don't think he makes a lot of sense. I don't know a whole lot about him. I met him when he was at the University of Florida, so I knew him then, and it was the same thing. It's just this, a lot of chatter, and I don't know that he thinks about what he's saying or actually analyzes it, or maybe he's not smart enough to analyze what he says. But it's probably something for him that he probably just needs to stop talking.
he was willing to write a check to be and we're in Scottsdale. A lot of people that watch the show know that. He was willing to write a check for, I think it's 200,000. It's either north or south of that, but it's not much, to join the exclusive club of Whisper Rock. And thinking he was Billy Horschel and that he can just write a check and join. And Whisper Rock told Billy Horschel, you can go kick rocks, my friend. You can go kick rocks. And that's the vibe around what I know. You know as much as I do. I can speak more about stuff than you can, and I get it. But yeah, he tried to join Whisper Rock when they went, no, you're not a guy that we want at the club. So when his comments came out this week, and it pissed me off. And because you're taking away, just because you've made whatever he's made, and he won the FedEx Cup and whatever, just because you've made a career out of your journey through golf, and you came through the same journey as you're trying to take away from some of these other guys, you know, to get starts on the PGA Tour and try to be successful. To me, it's like you said, you came from here. Now you're here. Don't take away the opportunity from somebody else to get their dream, their lifelong dream. I mean, if it was up to him, guys like Taylor Gooch, you know, 3-4 years ago probably wouldn't have got their card. But yet they've gotten better as time has gone on, and he got his first win today, which I thought was really cool. And I was a week late, and you know, in the Who You Got segment, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. But it's what's enough? I mean, why? He says it'll make fields better. I don't agree with that at all, because as you talked about, Troy Merritt is 85th, 90th, 95th in the world. In the world, we're not talking about, you know, locally. We're not talking about in the U.S. We're talking about in the world. And, you know, Troy's got how many? What does he have? 2-3 wins? What does Troy have?
2 wins on the PGA Tour, one on the Corn Ferry. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, so so, I mean, are you trying to eliminate, you know, not saying Troy, but guys, you know, a little bit down the road, you know, that are 180th in the world, or you know, or you finish 105th on the PGA Tour. You've had a pretty damn good season. You've made, you know, $1 and change $1 million. You shouldn't be excluded from being able to play in tournaments. And I mean, Billy Horschel, you can go whatever. You know what I'm going to say. So anyway, all right, we'll change the subject. Go ahead.
Well, Bernie, and I think, you know, the thing that's interesting, especially in the fall season, and I'm sure, you know, when you were caddying, when you start a new season, you see new names, you see new faces, not just players. You see new caddies, you see new coaches, and everybody starts. Well, everybody's got to start with some opportunity to get out there. And
Right.
So I think trying to take away opportunities that have been given to you, you know, that's an interesting concept. Now, you know, on the flip side of that coin, you can say that the tour used to be the all exempt tour, and this is years ago, was 60 players, you know, and then you had the Monday tournaments that were, you know, the rabbits, the guys that had,
the rabbits
that just went everywhere to try to fill the field. I don't think Billy wants to go back to that, but certainly that would be kind of the direction that things would be going. And like I said, an exclusive, you know, things are pretty exclusive as they are now. It's hard to be on the PGA Tour. It's hard to be in the top 125 every season, you know, and to keep your card for multiple seasons. And so I think that if I were Billy and you know, if I was on that policy board, I'd maybe, you know, really look at that and look at not just the guys that have been out there forever that maybe you kind of want to try to protect a little bit, but the young guys that should have the opportunity to play. And, it's not easy at all.
I'd love to see somebody like, I don't know, I don't have the list in front of me. 115th on last year's FedEx Cup points. I like to look at the names and see their body build and just have them. I'll ship them $1,000 or whatever. I'm just going to just punch him right in the face. But anyway, all right. So the Tuesday match, we didn't play last week because my partner Adam Blanker had to move offices. He owns a company called Merry Maids, and he had to move offices, and so we didn't play last week. But the great news this week is that round 2 of myself and Adam, or Adam and myself, whichever is politically correct, are playing the boys from Burrito Express once again at Talking Stick. And we are so excited about it. And there are proud sponsors of our program. It's your local burrito joint. And they have so many different venues in the valley. And I had lunch with my mother-in-law the other day. And she was listening to the show. And she said, I think they're from Nebraska. I said, no, they're not from Nebraska. They have a store in Nebraska. But she was very excited when I told her that we were going to do that. All right. So normally at this time, we do the segment called Who You Got? But there is no Who You Got anymore, Dahlby. As you can see right here, I'm going to lean to the left. I'm going to lean this way. As you can tell on our last show, which was a couple of weeks ago, Schubert, who wasn't feeling very well, he won with Matthew Wolf. You had Ryan Palmer because I psyched you out. You could have taken Scotty Scheffler and probably won the event, but you got 2 points with Ryan Palmer, and I had Taylor Gooch. And I don't know what it is. He had the lead after the first round, and I felt cocky. I'm like, And I was on my MGM app before the week started, and my big investment was Taylor Gooch. Now, come Friday, after I don't know if anybody got to see. If I know everybody knows that Jason Kokrak won the tournament, but Jason Kokrak had one of the roughest finishes, and I think I texted you this, Steve, had one of the roughest finishes on Friday. Here was a guy that was like, I think it was like tied third, and then all of a sudden played the last, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, the last 7 or 8 holes or 6 holes and like 6 over par. And so I came home that night and I was watching some football and I was watching the Golf Channel back and forth. And somehow I said to myself, Jason Kokrak's going to win the golf tournament. And I convinced myself to go on my BetMGM app and bet Jason Kokrak to win the golf tournament. And by God, Jason Kokrak won the golf tournament. So that's my story about who you got this week.
Well, that's nice, and congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
It didn't help your who you got though. So where are the points?
It did not.
Where and what's the
okay? So here it is, right here. Let me turn around. Okay. So right now, going into this break, which is what, 6 weeks. So right now, Shu has 17.5 points. Dahlby, you have 14, and I have a massive 9.5. That is the complete update right now on who you got.
What was that again? So Shu's leading?
So Schubert's got 17.5, and he's with the show tonight. He's just not speaking. I think he's mad at me. But you know what? I don't blame him. Everybody's mad at me. He has 17.5. You have 14, and I have 9.5. That's that's the deal right now.
I let the scoreboard do the talking for me. The scoreboard does the talking.
Oh, wait. Whoa. All of a sudden he's there now.
Is.
Shu, that's it?
What more do I have to say? I let the scoreboard do the talking for me.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
All right, so
he's leading the FedEx points right now as we go into the break. And we're going to continue as we move forward into the Tournament of Champions. And not too long. If you think about it, Bernie, the guys, they do have a break. Some of them will
Mm-hmm.
play in some of the fun tournaments in the fall here, the Shark Shootout, Franklin Templeton tournament, but a lot of
That's
them will
still
take a little
around.
bit of time. Huh? Yeah. Oh yeah.
It is.
Yes.
Wow. Oh. So go ahead. A lot of people take some time and do what?
So I think a lot of people will take a little bit of time, enjoy this week, Thanksgiving, and then some might tinker with equipment, some might talk to some coaches about do I need to make any changes, and then you've kind of got you've got December and so you got 4 weeks, you got Christmas, so you're not going to do too much then. And then you're back at it in 5 weeks here, 5-6 weeks. So it is a short break. There'll be some of the guys that won that get to go to Maui, the Tournament of Champions, and then the rest of them are going to be going to the Sony in Hawaii. And the one thing, Bernie, and you talked about, and this goes back to your discussion with Horschel, that opportunity, and I think. And maybe you agree, maybe you don't, but I think the fields in the fall were maybe stronger than in falls past, and there are a lot of guys that have maybe that status that you'd think, oh gosh, I'm going to get in 3 or 4 or 5 of the fall events, and maybe they only got in 2 or 3. And even going forward, there's guys that are wondering how deep that list is going to go when you get to the Sony. And Bernie, talk a little bit about categories, shuffles, and stuff like that.
Well, today, after today's round, they did reshuffle, and what that means in Monday Q. We got to have this guy on next week or the week after. He was hilarious. He said he was late taking his kids to school because he had to explain on Twitter what reshuffle meant, and it took too long. But what happens is, and I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago, and I'll just reemphasize it, tell the story again. Guys that were 1 and 2 on the Korn Ferry Tour list from last year, whether it was regular season or in the playoffs, are fully exempt on the PGA Tour this year. Numbers 3 to 50 are eligible and are reshuffled after a period of events. And today was the first reshuffle. Now, it comes out tomorrow morning, or probably came out tonight, and Rex Hoggart or somebody will put it out. But you could have started number 3 in priority. And how priority works is the top 125 on the PGA Tour can sign up for an event in pecking order 1 to 125. Then you have your major medical exemption guys, past or top 50 money winners. Everybody starts the year with a number. And then the Korn Ferry Tour guys they started a different number. They started a number, but they can get changed. So I think it was Talum or somebody like that. He started like number 4 and didn't make a cut in the fall series. And it's going to fall to like 45th, 46th, 47th, something like that. To where when the pecking order comes for like the Waste Management Phoenix Open, that he's going to be number 47 now instead of number 3, where he probably would have got in, and now he didn't. And how that changes is by the points that you've made during these 5 or 6 events that we've already had this year. So you could have started at 43rd, 44th, and had 1 or 2 great tournaments and move yourself up to like 8 or 9, 10, 5, or whatever it might be. And that's how it works until the next reshuffle. I'm not sure when the next reshuffle is. It'll probably be, I would guess, just guessing, after the California swing, maybe a little bit later than that. But yeah, that's how. So if you don't play well, even though you had a great Korn Ferry Tour season or Korn Ferry Tour finals and you started up high, if you didn't make any points, you're falling right down the list.
Yeah, and that's the thing where, and even on the, like, watching the Korn Ferry Tour finals, you got the guys that get so many, they're guaranteed 14 starts or whatever it is, and then there's some that are guaranteed 8 starts, and so even though you're a member of the PGA Tour, you're a member of the Korn Ferry Tour, you can't you can't slip. You really can't. And if you do slip, you put yourself in a hole where now, like you're talking about, a guy that was number 3 or 4, now he's number 46. Well, maybe he doesn't get in Sony, which normally it goes down that far, but they're talking about this year that it might just not be that way. Certainly not going to get in Riviera. You're not going to get in the Waste Management. And so all of a sudden you've got, if you were not in those 3 tournaments, there's all these other guys that get these extra starts, extra chance to make points. And really what it is in terms of getting to that 125, it's, I think, a race to 400 FedEx points for a season. I think this next season, I think last year it was 380 something or whatever. I think it's a race to 400. And so that's where, even right now, I looked at the FedEx projected standings after Troy played today to just kind of see where he's at. And you know, fortunately it's a good start and we're in pretty good position, but there's no time to slip. You want to get to that 400 or 425 or whatever, and then you kind of can breathe a sigh of relief and then go the rest of the way.
You've played 5 tournaments. He's fully exempt on the PGA Tour. You're looking at it already? I mean, is he looking at it? I mean, really, this early?
He's not looking at it. I'm looking at it. I just look curious to see, okay, well, you know, you've had 50th? A nice fall. Yeah, something like that, 52nd or something like that, 161, 62 points. So I think, you know, that's a nice set of sub tournaments. But I'm just saying that, especially if you're a guy off the Korn Ferry Tour, you know, you want to get to 400 as soon as possible and make life easy.
All right. Before I get your last comments, we're all creatures of habit. Okay. I get my haircut every 2 weeks. Same guy for 20 years. And this was week 2 or 3 or 4 days ago on a Wednesday. And he was on vacation. And normally when he goes on vacation, what doesn't happen very much, I'll usually go back-to-back weeks to get my hair cut. And this week, I decided, you know what? I'll stick it out one more week, and you can see this thing right now. I mean, it looks like somebody didn't weed eat their yard. But I got up this morning, and I went to the medicine cabinet to get the Crest toothpaste out. It wasn't there. There was Colgate.
Uh-oh.
And yeah, and I looked, and my wife was still asleep. The pugs were all over her, and I wasn't going to wake her up. In your opinion, Dahlby, should I have woken her up and said, where the hell is the Crest, or should I have just what I did? And I went with the Colgate and it had this cinnamon taste to it. Should I have said something to her, or should I just wait for her to watch the show and then let her know that I was mad?
Yeah, I think you can just let it go. You might even just adapt for just a little bit and see if you're okay with it. And if you're, if you didn't like the taste, you could switch tomorrow. And you're thinking you probably will, but you can adapt. But here's a question for you, because as you say, you kind of have structure to kind of how you do things with your players. Was there a exact amount of time? Was there an exact amount of balls hit? Was there a process by which you did anything? And then even to go so far as were 3 tees in the right pocket and a quarter in the left pocket?
No, nobody was ever that superstitious. Now I am. I carry, when I play in the Tuesday match, I have 3 dimes. I don't care what year the dimes, but I only mark my ball with dimes, which is, yeah, it's weird. Yeah, I'm out there. But no, I never had anybody, Eakes, Judah, Bo Van Pelt, Kelly Gibson, Gary Hallberg. Nobody was ever that weird. As far as like time though, RW was the guy that took the shortest amount of time. If we had a 10-10 tee time, we're at the range at 9:30. Judah was probably an hour. I don't really remember what Bo Van Pelt was, but it was nobody was really over the top superstitious as far as like carrying different stuff in their pocket or anything like that?
Okay. You caddied for Gary Hallberg?
Yeah, one time.
Oh, okay. One time, his son Eric's a member at Phoenix Country Club now. That's when you said you said Gary. So yeah.
Oh,
Chicago guy, right? Gary?
All right.
Yeah.
Chicago guy. He won the Did he win the U.S. Amateur, or did he? What did he win? What's his claim to fame?
Well, I think he won a.
Do either one of us know?
He won on the PGA Tour, so I don't know. He was really good for a while. I think that was his claim to fame. Now I got to find out. So keep talking. As I Google Gary Hallberg. So.
All right. Well, let's see.
Cripe, he's got 12 wins. He's 3 wins on the PGA Tour, a win on the Japanese Tour, 1 on the Korn Ferry, 1 on the PGA Tour Champions, and then there's 6 other professional wins. So, he did well on national. He played on a Walker Cup. So when you play in a Walker Cup, that means you're a well-decorated amateur golfer. The top college players are going to play in Walker Cups, and that's always a cool thing to rep. It's it's not the Ryder Cup, but it's pretty cool to represent the Stars and Stripes in a Walker Cup.
All right, that'll do it. One last thing. I've never been a David Bergogno fan, even though he went to U of A where your wife went to.
Your guy.
But and Dahlby sends you this text the other day of the leaderboard from qualifying school where David Bergogno made it to the finals, and I looked at all the names, and I'm like, all right, can't stand him. Cheater. I'm not going to mention names this time, but it is what it is. All right, Dahlby. Thanks, Schubert. Thanks for everything.
He's got to be feeling better. All those times where he just couldn't get out there and play. He must be feeling better now that he's turned 50.
And he has all the money now because he milked the PGA for whatever he milked him for so many years. And I promise you right now, I will tell you the whole story about David Bergogno next week on this program. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great week.
Hit him straight, everybody.